Analyzing Textured Vegetable Protein Part 1. Living is an extremely complicated art, but on the other hand extremely easy. It all depends on how you look at life. When we are in favor of reality, life becomes extremely easy, but when we are against reality, life becomes extremely complicated. One of the rules of living well is to eat well. Another is not to be sedentary. Another is to be happy with reality, in order to accept the real path, instead of the imaginative taste. Let's look at the food well. To do this, we will start by knowing data from a program that makes it easier for us to observe the amount of nutrients in a food. Some people consider that analyzing food and eating the necessary nutrients is a way of looking like robots. But I ask, if a man eats potato chips and drinks soda for a long time, being happy with the taste, wouldn't that cause anemia in him? Our body is a machine that needs specific nutrients. The lack of nutrients creates health problems. Remember I talked about reality? So, the reality is to know that our biological system is highly organized and food must follow the specific rules of nature. So, let's start with the idea that currently the act of eating meat generates devastation of forests, since it is necessary to graze animals, and the multiplication of beef animals ends up consuming heavily the Earth's natural resources. For this, we can use textured vegetable protein, which is a soy product. When we feed on primary producers, such as plants, the impact on nature is much less than consuming primary consumers. So let's look at the textured vegetable protein. According to the World Health Organization, the recommended daily energy values for proteins are 10 to 15%. For lipids 10 to 35% and carbohydrates 55 to 75%. But the composition of vegetable protein in energy is 58.4%, that is, vegetable protein is highly protein, which is logical. Being 43% above the value that would be recommended, that is, feeding only with vegetable protein throughout the day until the energy requirement is reached, we would have 43% of protein above that recommended by the World Health Organization. But it stands to reason that no one will think it is right to eat dry vegetable protein all day, and it is extremely bad to eat something so dry. In addition to being rich in protein, it is rich in iron, phosphorus. We have high values for magnesium, fiber and potassium, but low in carbohydrates and lipids. In micronutrients we can see that copper has a very high concentration in vegetable protein, so we also have zinc, as in other minerals in good concentration. Copper is very good for health, but not in excess. Thus, the recommendation is not to exceed 10 milligrams of copper, which would be in the range of 300 grams of dry vegetable protein. But 300 grams of dry vegetable protein can produce 1.2 kilograms of prepared vegetable protein. Thus, vegetable protein is an inexpensive source of protein, and is much less destructive to nature than livestock. Let's look at the prepared vegetable protein, but in a simple way. We could analyze a very complex preparation, but at the moment we must analyze a simple preparation, so that most people can make the preparation. We will use 300 grams of textured vegetable protein. First, put in the blender the oil, the salt to taste, on average 3 cloves of garlic, a medium onion, the tomato sauce and the water. Beat until smooth, and place in a bowl with vegetable protein. Stir a little until all the protein is moistened, leave for approximately 30 minutes in a bowl. Then place in a pan and cook over low heat until the protein fibers are soft. If you notice that the protein is getting dry, add water to the point that the protein is moist and does not burn the bottom. When the fiber is soft, turn off the heat and add chopped green olives and stir well. It is very easy to make this recipe. In this preparation we have an increase in the concentration of lipids and a reduction in the concentration of protein, which is logical. Food starts to have more nutrients, like manganese. This preparation exceeds several daily needs such as copper, phosphorus, potassium and iron. Now, the preparation is 1.2 kilograms. See that the 300 grams of dried vegetable protein became 1.2 kilograms of prepared protein. But we see that vitamin C and carbohydrates are not showing up, so if we add a little mashed potatoes and orange juice, we can have these nutrients. So, let's use 200 grams of the protein we prepared, plus about 3 tablespoons of mashed potatoes, and a glass of orange juice. Now, we can observe an adequacy, with the increase of carbohydrates, and vitamin C. Note that just 1 glass of orange juice has already provided the daily need for vitamin C. But we could still improve and add some food with calcium. That food could be braised cabbage. Very simple. Many people may not like kale, but it is important that they try to eat vegetables. Our body needs leafy vegetables, due to its large amount of minerals. Thus, by adding 80 grams or 2 to 3 sautéed kale leaves, we increase the concentration of micronutrients and even vitamin C. In terms of lipids, as we are using vegetable oil, we are using lipid concentration as the Mediterranean diet, which in research has determined that it generates health and longevity. Thus, we can see that the use of vegetable protein can be a great option to reduce the destruction of the planet and improve health. Watch our next video, Analyzing a Breakfast.
If you are looking for more content from different areas, visit the reformadorstasaad.com website. News and detailed content can be found. With system of research and organization of text and video.